The twin suns of the distant planet Virelia hung low in the sky, casting long shadows over the crystal towers that shimmered like giant diamonds. Captain Elias Thorne stepped off the small shuttle, his boots crunching on the pale, glassy ground. He had traveled across light years to reach this world, the heart of an alien civilization that few humans had ever seen. His mission was simple in words but heavy in responsibility: establish contact, understand the alien culture, and, if possible, build trust. The first thing Elias noticed was the silence. Not the absence of sound, but the sense that the entire city was watching him. Towering figures moved gracefully among the crystalline streets, their elongated limbs reflecting the sunlight. They were elegant, and their presence carried an air of authority that Elias had never encountered on Earth. Their eyes glimmered like molten metal, intelligent and observant, tracking his every movement. A soft hum echoed through the air, almost like music. Elias instinctively straightened his back, aware that his first impressions mattered. He had read the reports. The aliens of Virelia valued honesty and courage, but they also had a keen sense of pride. Missteps could easily end a negotiation before it began. He had to be careful, but not so careful that he seemed false. "Welcome, human," said a voice that made Elias pause. It was melodic, yet firm, each word measured and deliberate. He turned his gaze upward and saw her, the alien queen. She was unlike anything he had imagined. Her form was regal, with flowing limbs that seemed both delicate and strong. Her skin shimmered with a soft iridescence, catching the sunlight in ways that made it appear alive. Her eyes, deep and golden, seemed to look right through him, weighing him in a single glance. Around her the air seemed to hum with authority. Elias had faced dangerous situations before, but there was something in her presence that made him both anxious and fascinated. "Captain Elias Thorne," she continued, her voice calm yet commanding. "You have come far to reach Virelia. Few humans have ever seen our world." "I thank you, Your Majesty," Elias replied, bowing slightly out of respect. "It is an honor to be here." The queen regarded him silently for a moment. Then, unexpectedly, she spoke again. "Tell me, human, am I beautiful?" Elias blinked. He had expected many questions: protocol, culture, history, but not this. He had studied alien psychology and diplomacy, but this question caught him completely off guard. He had been trained to navigate uncertainty with composure, yet he felt a flush rise in his chest. He looked at her carefully. Her beauty was undeniable, but there was something more. In her eyes he saw curiosity, vulnerability, even doubt. And then, before he could think too long, he laughed. Not mockingly, not arrogantly, just a soft, genuine laugh that rose from surprise and the sheer absurdity of the moment. The queen's golden eyes narrowed slightly, and the court around them murmured in subtle shock. She was not used to being laughed at, not by subjects, not by diplomats, certainly not by humans. Yet there was no insult in his laughter. It was honest. And for a moment something shifted. "Human," she said, her voice quiet but with a trace of amusement. "You dare laugh at a queen?" I did not mean disrespect," Elias said, regaining his composure. "It's just, I was not expecting such a question. You are certainly remarkable. More than words can describe." The queen's eyes softened, but her posture remained regal. "Remarkable? I suppose that is one way to answer." She tilted her head, studying him as if trying to understand the human mind. "Your people are strange. You laugh at what others might fear, and you speak without the chains of protocol." Elias shrugged slightly. "We have our ways. Sometimes honesty matters more than ceremony." A low, melodic hum resonated through the queen's court. Elias realized that the murmur around them was not ordinary conversation. It was communication, subtle but precise, flowing among her attendants. They were observing him closely, measuring his reactions, weighing his words. He could feel their scrutiny, but he refused to show fear. "Follow me," the queen commanded. "I will show you the city, and we shall see if your honesty serves you well in Virelia." Elias nodded. He followed her through the crystalline streets, each step sending tiny sparks of light dancing across the surfaces. The citizens of Virelia paused and watched, their eyes flicking between him and their queen. Some whispered in their musical tongue, others simply observed. Elias noted how different their culture was, elegant, precise, and unyielding. Yet, even here, he sensed curiosity. They were curious about him just as much as he was curious about them. As they walked, the queen spoke again, more softly this time. Most visitors are afraid of me, human. They bow, they speak only what is safe, and they avoid my gaze. But you laugh. You do not hide behind fear or flattery. Why? Elias considered his answer. Because fear limits understanding. And flattery, it rarely tells the truth. I believe the best way to connect with someone is to be honest, even when it is difficult. The queen paused, her head tilted as she regarded him. Honesty, such a human trait. It is refreshing and rare. They reached a plaza where the sunlight fractured through massive crystal spires, creating shifting patterns on the ground. The queen stopped and gestured for Elias to stand beside her. Look around you, human. This is Virelia. Many would see only beauty or wealth, but to truly understand it, one must see beyond the surface. Elias scanned the plaza. Indeed, the city was breathtaking. The crystals reflected light in 100 directions. The architecture was intricate, unlike anything on Earth. Yet, as he looked closer, he saw subtle signs of care. The way the inhabitants interacted, the meticulous maintenance of their surroundings, the balance of elegance and function. He began to understand what she meant. Beauty was not just in the form, but in the intention behind it. You understand more than you realize, human, the queen said. Perhaps that is why I asked you my question. I am honored that you asked, Elias replied, but perhaps beauty is more than appearance. Perhaps it is the way one moves, the choices one makes, the effect one has on others. The queen studied him, her expression unreadable at first. Then a faint smile appeared, subtle but genuine. It was the first time Elias had seen her smile in full. For a moment the air seemed lighter, the tension eased. You may be the first human to answer me without fear or pretense, she said softly. That alone is intriguing. Elias felt a flicker of pride, but he knew better than to let it show too much. In diplomacy, arrogance could be dangerous. Instead, he simply nodded. I am here to learn, Your Majesty, and to understand as best I can your world and your people. The queen motioned for him to follow again. Then you shall see more. But remember, human, Virelia is not a place for the timid or the deceitful. Your honesty may serve you well, or it may draw eyes you do not wish to attract. As they walked through the city, Elias couldn't help but marvel at the alien architecture, the alien culture, and the alien mind that ruled it all. Yet, despite the strangeness, he felt a connection, a thread of understanding that transcended species. In that moment, he realized that humans had something the aliens admired: the ability to see clearly, to act honestly, and to meet the unknown without hiding. The queen turned to him once more. Tell me, human, you see me as I am, yes? I see you, Elias said quietly. And that is more than most can claim. Her golden eyes lingered on him, thoughtful and intense. Perhaps that is enough for now. As the twin suns dipped lower on the horizon, casting long shadows over the crystalline city, Elias felt the weight of his mission, the beauty of the world around him, and the strange, unspoken bond forming between a human and an alien queen. The journey had just begun, and already he sensed that it would change not only his understanding of Virelia, but the way the universe saw humanity itself. The first encounter had ended, but the questions, the tests, the truths, the laughter, and the honesty were only beginning. And for the first time, Elias felt that humans might truly belong among the stars, not by strength or power alone, but by the courage to be themselves. The next morning, the twin suns rose higher, scattering brilliant light across Virelia's crystal towers. Captain Elias Thorne awoke in the guest quarters of the Queen's palace. Though lavish and elegant, the room felt strangely quiet, almost as if the walls themselves were listening. He dressed carefully, mindful that every movement was being observed, and prepared himself for whatever the day would bring. A soft chime echoed through the room. A door slid open silently, and the Queen's attendant, a tall figure with skin that gleamed like silver, stood at the threshold. "Captain Elias, the Queen awaits. Today you will be tested." Elias nodded. He had anticipated tests of some kind. The aliens of Virelia valued honesty, intelligence, and courage above all else. What he did not know was the form these tests would take. The palace hall stretched before him, a vast chamber of crystal and light. The Queen stood at its center, her golden eyes focused on him, as if she had been waiting his entire life for this moment. "Welcome, human," she said softly. "Today, you will learn more about Virelia, and perhaps we will learn more about you." Elias took a deep breath. "I am ready, Your Majesty." The Queen nodded and motioned to a crystalline doorway that shimmered like liquid light. "Your first challenge lies within. It is not merely a test of strength or intelligence. It is a test of understanding, observation, and intuition. Step forward and you will see." Elias approached the doorway, feeling the energy in the air shift. As he stepped through, he found himself in a vast chamber unlike anything he had ever seen. Floating platforms hovered above a glowing floor, each marked with symbols that pulsed faintly. The platforms moved slowly, weaving patterns that seemed almost impossible to predict. A voice echoed in the chamber, calm and even. "To succeed, you must cross the platforms without touching the floor. Observe the patterns, anticipate the movements, and step wisely. Do not rush." Elias studied the platforms carefully. Unlike humans, the aliens relied on exact calculations and precision. Many would wait for the perfect moment, then act with flawless timing. But Elias noticed something subtle. The symbols on the platform seemed to follow patterns based on rhythm, not just logic. A pause here, a small adjustment there, and the path became clearer. He took his first step, then another, and another. He moved slowly, letting instinct guide him. The glowing symbols responded to his weight, shifting slightly to indicate safe spots. In time, he reached the opposite side. A soft chime echoed. "Impressive, human," said the Queen's voice now in the chamber. "You relied on observation and intuition rather than brute calculation. Few succeed in this way." Elias exhaled, a small smile on his face. "Sometimes seeing patterns is easier than following rules," he said. The Queen's voice, melodic and thoughtful, replied, "Indeed. Now, your second test awaits." Another doorway opened, revealing a garden-like chamber. Strange, alien. Plants grew in geometric arrangements, their leaves and stems glimmering with a soft internal light. Some of the plants moved almost imperceptibly, like they were aware of his presence. "You must retrieve the crystal blossom from the center of the garden," the Queen explained. "But beware, the path is protected by guardians. Not all obstacles are physical." Elias stepped forward, his senses alert. He soon realized the guardians were not creatures but illusions, shimmering projections that reacted to fear and hesitation. As he approached, the images of alien beasts appeared, growling and lunging. His heart pounded, but he forced himself to remain calm. Instead of attacking, he walked slowly, speaking quietly under his breath to calm himself. The illusions flickered but did not vanish. Elias realized they were testing his reactions. Fear would make them stronger. Courage and patience would weaken them. He focused on the center of the garden, moving with steady confidence. The illusions dissolved one by one, leaving him in front of a single crystal blossom, glowing softly in the alien light. He picked it carefully, not breaking a petal, and held it before him. A voice echoed again approvingly. "You are not the strongest nor the fastest, but you are the most adaptable. Humans have a remarkable ability to act in ways that others cannot predict." Elias bowed slightly. "I suppose we learn to survive by thinking in ways others might not expect." The queen's laughter, soft and musical, filled the garden. You speak wisely, human. Your ingenuity pleases me. The third test was even more unexpected. Elias was led to a chamber filled with mirrors, their surfaces reflecting infinite images of himself. At first he thought it was a simple puzzle, but soon he realized the mirrors distorted reality. Some showed him as taller, shorter, older, or even younger. Some reflected terrifying visions, while others portrayed moments of doubt and failure. Your challenge, the queen's voice intoned, is to navigate the chamber and find your true reflection. Many are lost in the illusions. Few understand that the path is within. Elias paused. He closed his eyes and listened. He remembered what his parents had taught him. The strongest obstacles were often internal. He took a deep breath and focused on his own heartbeat, ignoring the illusions and distractions. Slowly, carefully, he moved through the mirrored hall. His mind quieted, and he felt a sense of clarity. At last, he stood before a mirror that reflected him exactly as he was, not perfect, not flawed, but real. He reached out and touched it. The mirror shimmered and dissolved, revealing the doorway to the next chamber. You have done well, human, the queen's voice said. Many would have faltered here. Humans' ability to confront themselves, to remain true, is extraordinary. Elias felt a swell of pride but did not let it show. He had learned long ago that humility often opens more doors than arrogance. The final test awaited him in a hall filled with alien artifacts, each glowing with soft light. The queen explained, "These artifacts represent knowledge, wisdom, and history. You may choose one to carry with you, but only one. Many would take the most beautiful or valuable. You must choose what is most meaningful." Elias walked among the artifacts, examining each carefully. Some glimmered with technological brilliance, others seemed filled with emotion, memories, or art. After a long moment, he selected a simple crystal shaped like a heart. It radiated warmth and light, not the brightest nor the largest, but the one that spoke to him most. You chose wisely, the queen said. Not the most powerful, not the most impressive, but the one that carries meaning. Humans' ability to see value beyond mere appearance is remarkable. Elias smiled faintly. I think it is easy to lose sight of what matters when dazzled by beauty or power. I try to remember what is important. The queen stepped closer, her golden eyes studying him intently. You have passed my tests, human, not by strength, not by calculation, but by intuition, courage, and honesty. You have shown qualities my people admire but rarely understand. Elias bowed, feeling both relief and pride. Thank you, Your Majesty. I have learned much, and I hope to continue learning. She extended a hand, and for the first time, Elias noticed the delicate grace of her fingers, each movement precise yet natural. You have reminded me, she said softly, that strength is not only in power but in understanding, patience, and the courage to be oneself. Humans possess this in abundance. As they left the chambers, walking through the crystal halls, once more Elias realized that these tests were not merely challenges, they were lessons. They revealed the aliens' limitations in understanding emotion and creativity, while highlighting humanity's unique strengths. Where the Varelians relied on precision and protocol, humans relied on adaptability, intuition, and the courage to act differently. By the time they reached the palace balcony overlooking the city, the twin suns were beginning to set, painting the sky in shades of gold and violet. The queen gazed out over her domain, and Elias stood beside her, silent for a moment, feeling the weight of what had just occurred. You have shown me much today, human, she said. Perhaps humans are not as fragile or simple as many would believe. Perhaps there is a spark in your kind that even we cannot fully understand. Elias looked at her and smiled. Perhaps that spark is what allows humans to survive, to explore, and to grow. It is what brought me here today. The queen turned to him, her expression unreadable, but her golden eyes held a new warmth. You make a compelling argument, Captain Elias. I will admit, I did not expect a human to pass these trials with such grace. Elias chuckled softly. Grace is in the eye of the beholder, Your Majesty. I only tried to be myself. Her laughter, soft and musical, echoed across the palace balcony. It was a sound that seemed to belong to the very planet itself, and, for a moment, Elias felt that he was not just a visitor, but a bridge between worlds. A human who had shown that honesty, courage, and creativity could open doors that force and power could not. As the suns dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the crystal city, Elias realized that the tests had only begun to reveal what it meant to be human in a universe filled with wonder, complexity, and awe. And the queen, the alien, queen who had once asked a simple question about beauty, had begun to see the universe and humanity in a new light. The city of Virelia glowed softly under the fading light of its twin suns. From the balcony of her crystal palace, the alien queen watched as Captain Elias Thorne stood quietly beside her. Though he had passed her tests, she remained intrigued by the human's honesty and courage. There was a depth in him that no other visitor had shown, a combination of humor, insight, and humility that unsettled and fascinated her at the same time. The queen turned to him, her golden eyes reflecting the last rays of the suns. Human, she said softly, you have passed my challenges, and yet I find myself with another question, one that is not about tests, strategy, or observation. It is personal. Elias tilted his head, curiosity and caution in equal measure. I will try to answer, Your Majesty. What is your question? The queen took a deep breath, something rare for her. Even the attendants gave her space, sensing the vulnerability in her posture. I have lived for centuries, she began, and yet I am haunted by doubt. I am powerful, my cities are unmatched, and my people respect me. But I do not know if I am truly admired, or loved, or beautiful in ways that matter. Elias blinked, surprised. The queen, regal and commanding, admitted doubt. In his experience, leaders rarely showed such vulnerability, especially to strangers. Yet here she was, standing before him, exposing her feelings without pretense. Your Majesty, he said gently, I cannot pretend to fully understand your life, your challenges, or what it means to be a queen of Virelia. But I can tell you this, true beauty is not in appearance alone. It is in the choices you make, the courage you show, and the way you inspire those around you. The queen's gaze softened. She had asked many beings this question, but none had answered as he had, not with wisdom, not with honesty. Humans were unpredictable, and yet their unpredictability carried insight. Inspire? She murmured. Do you believe I inspire? Yes, Elias said firmly. Your people follow you not just because you rule them, but because you embody your ideals. You are strong, intelligent, and brave, that is, beautiful. The queen's golden eyes shimmered with an emotion she rarely displayed, gratitude. Yet she hesitated, her pride struggling against her desire for honesty. And if I am seen differently by others? If some admire my power but not my character? Elias smiled softly. Then it is their perception, not your reality, that is flawed. Beauty is not measured by approval alone. It is measured by truth, integrity, and the courage to face oneself, even when others misunderstand you. For the first time, the queen allowed herself to step closer. Her presence was overwhelming, yet Elias felt no fear. Humans had a way of calming tension through simplicity, honesty, and calm observation. He realized that this was another part of what made humans unique. Their emotional intuition allowed them to navigate situations that logic or power alone could not solve. I have never heard such words, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Even my closest advisors. They speak only of loyalty, duty, and obedience. Never of understanding. Never of truth in the heart. Elias inclined his head. Sometimes it is easier to follow protocol than to speak from the heart. But honesty, true honesty, can touch even the strongest, most powerful beings. Humans understand that. We know that words carry weight, but sincerity carries even more. The queen studied him silently. She had expected flattery or fear, as usual. Instead, she found courage and clarity, the kind of clarity that humans possessed in a way her people rarely did. You speak as if humans are not only clever, but wise beyond what we perceive. In many ways, we are still learning, Elias said, but we have a strength in seeing what others miss. Sometimes a pattern, sometimes a feeling, sometimes what truly matters. It is not power, speed, or perfection. It is insight, empathy, and courage. A faint smile appeared on her lips, delicate and rare. Empathy, courage, insight, she repeated softly. I see now why I asked you my question. You do not merely observe, you understand. You see what is beyond the surface, Elias nodded, and sometimes that is enough to change a perspective, whether for a human or an alien. The queen led him to a quiet garden within the palace, one hidden from view, filled with plants that glowed softly in the twilight. Humans, she said thoughtfully, you seem to find strength in simplicity, and yet you carry it with subtlety. You do not need to display power to prove it exists. That fascinates me. Elias smiled, humbled. Strength is meaningless if it is not used with understanding. Humans have learned that in our history. To act without thought is to risk everything. To act with courage, honesty, and empathy, that is how we endure. The queen paused by a crystal fountain. Water flowed upward in defiance of gravity, shimmering with colors that shifted as she approached. She looked down at the flowing liquid. Her reflection fractured and multiplied. I have lived long enough to know that appearances can deceive. Power can impress, but it can also isolate. I am admired for my rule, but not always. For who I am. And yet you see me? I see you, Elias said simply. And seeing is not just looking. It is understanding. And understanding is rare. For a long moment she was silent. Then she asked, her voice quiet, almost fragile. Do you think humans are special? Elias thought carefully. Yes, not because we are the strongest or the smartest or the fastest, but because we face the unknown, and we face ourselves. We find solutions where none exist. We care, we hope, we adapt, and we connect, even when the universe seems indifferent. That is our strength. The queen considered this. To face oneself and to endure. You speak of qualities my people admire yet cannot fully emulate. And yet you carry them with such simplicity. Elias smiled faintly. We do not always succeed, but we try. That is part of being human. She looked up at the sky where the twin suns were now almost gone, leaving streaks of violet and gold. Perhaps that is why I asked you my question. Beauty is not just form or light or brilliance. It is courage. It is honesty. It is the ability to endure and inspire. Humans possess these qualities. Elias felt a sense of connection, one that transcended species. And perhaps that is why I am here, to show that humans can build bridges where others see walls. To remind even the most powerful beings that strength and wisdom are not always the same as authority. The queen's gaze softened, and for a brief moment she seemed human in a way her people rarely allowed. You are remarkable, human. Your presence here has changed my understanding of beauty, power, and courage. You have reminded me that true admiration comes not from fear, but from respect and understanding. Elias nodded, humbled by her words. And you, your majesty, have reminded me that even the greatest beings are capable of doubt and growth. That is part of being alive. That is part of learning. The garden grew darker as night approached, the soft glow of alien plants illuminating their faces. The queen turned to him once more. I had expected my questions to be answered by protocol or flattery. I did not expect truth, human. You have given me truth. And sometimes, Elias replied softly, truth is more powerful than any display of strength. For the first time, the queen laughed softly, a sound like wind chimes in the evening air. Yes, it is. Perhaps that is the human way. To laugh, to endure, to speak, and to inspire. You are extraordinary, Captain Elias Thorne. Elias smiled, feeling warmth in his chest. Perhaps, your majesty, the same could be said of you. True beauty is more than appearances. It is courage, wisdom, and the impact one leaves on others. You carry that in abundance. The queen regarded him silently, then said almost wistfully, I see now that humans are not merely creatures of flesh and ambition. You carry something rare, a spark that even I, with all my power, could not have anticipated. Elias felt a quiet pride, not from flattery but from recognition. Humans were different, yes, but in this moment, he realized the true meaning of their uniqueness. It was not in conquest or dominance. It was in understanding, honesty, courage, and the ability to connect. Qualities that could change the hearts and minds of even the most powerful beings in the galaxy. As the twin moons began to rise over the horizon, casting pale light across the crystal towers. The queen said quietly, "Stay with me a moment, human. Let us watch the stars and speak of things that are not tests, not duties, not rules. Speak as humans do, freely, without fear." Elias nodded, understanding that this was not a challenge but an invitation. For the first time, the queen had let down the veil of authority, and he felt honored to share this moment with her. Together, they watched the moons rise, silent except for the soft hum of the city and the distant murmur of alien life. In that quiet, they both learned something vital. Humans were not defined by their strength, their weapons, or their technology. They were defined by their hearts, their courage, and their capacity to see truth, even in the most imposing and enigmatic of beings. And for the alien queen of Virelia, that truth would forever change her view of herself, her people, and the universe. The city of Virelia was quiet in the early hours, bathed in the soft glow of its twin moons. Captain Elias Thorne stood on a balcony overlooking the shimmering spires, accompanied by the alien queen. The night air carried a gentle hum, a sound that seemed to pulse from the very walls of the crystalline city. It was calm yet alive, a reflection of the civilization that had created it. "Human," the queen said softly, her golden eyes reflecting the moons above. "You have faced my tests, and you have spoken truths that few could dare to voice. Yet I am curious, how do your people live? What drives them beyond survival, beyond ambition?" Elias looked out over the city, considering his words carefully. "Humans live in many ways, Your Majesty. We build, we explore, we create art and music. We laugh, we love, and we struggle to understand ourselves and others. Sometimes we fail, sometimes we succeed, but we try." The queen tilted her head, intrigued. "Try? That seems simple, yet you say it as if it carries great weight." "Because it does," Elias replied. "Trying is what allows us to grow, to connect, to face the unknown. It is not the power we wield, but the effort we give, the courage we show that defines us." The queen's eyes lingered on him, thoughtful. "Your kind seems paradoxical. You are fragile yet resilient, weak yet strong. You are unpredictable." "That is part of being human," Elias said. "We do not always follow patterns. We rely on creativity, intuition, and empathy as much as on logic. It can be a strength or a weakness depending on how we use it." The queen remained silent for a moment, studying him. "Perhaps that is why I asked you my question at the beginning. You see beyond appearances. You see what is essential." Elias smiled faintly. "And sometimes what is essential is not obvious at first. Humans have learned to look carefully, to listen, and to understand, even when it is difficult." The queen's attendants approached, silently signaling that it was time for the day's activities. Elias followed her through the palace, noting the subtle gestures and movements of the aliens around him. Their culture was precise and disciplined, yet Elias realized it was also rigid. The queen's people valued perfection, control, and order, but they rarely allowed themselves moments of spontaneity, laughter, or genuine emotional expression. As they walked, the queen spoke again. "I wish for you to meet my council, human. They are wise, learned in history and philosophy, but they are not accustomed to your kind of thinking. Perhaps you may teach them something new." Elias followed her into a grand hall where alien council members awaited. Each was tall, with shimmering skin and eyes that seemed to hold centuries of knowledge. They regarded him carefully, their expressions neutral but their curiosity apparent. "Council," the queen began. "This is Captain Elias Thorne of Earth. He has passed my trials with ingenuity, courage, and honesty. He comes to share knowledge of his people and to learn from ours. Listen carefully, for there is much to gain." Elias bowed slightly. "I am honored, Your Majesty, and honored to meet you all. I come to learn and to share what humans have discovered. We are not perfect, but we have found ways to survive, to create, and to connect with one another. And perhaps you may find these lessons useful." The council members regarded him with interest. One stepped forward, its voice melodic and precise. "You claim that humans are capable of understanding beyond logic. Demonstrate this, human. Show us what your people value." Elias nodded. He gestured toward a crystal sphere that floated above the council table, glowing softly. "This sphere represents a human concept, collaboration. Humans build together, create together, and solve problems together. It is not the strongest alone who succeed, but those who work as one. The council listened, intrigued but skeptical. Elias continued, describing human art, music, literature, and even humor. He explained how humans used storytelling to teach, inspire, and preserve knowledge across generations. He told them how laughter could unite people in the face of fear, and how empathy could resolve conflicts where force could not. The Queen watched silently, a faint smile on her lips. Elias was not just speaking, he was demonstrating humanity. The council members leaned forward, some exchanging subtle glances of surprise. Humans, it seemed, were capable of understanding and connecting in ways the aliens had not expected. One council member spoke, its voice hesitant. "You suggest that humor and empathy can be as powerful as logic and strength?" "Yes," Elias said. "They are tools that humans use to survive and thrive. Logic and strength are important, but understanding others, inspiring trust, and connecting emotionally, these are equally valuable. They allow humans to navigate challenges that might seem impossible." The Queen nodded approvingly. "He speaks the truth, Council. Humans carry a spark that is not always seen, but it exists, and it can teach us lessons we have forgotten." Elias smiled, feeling a small sense of pride. He knew that bridging cultures was not easy. But by sharing simple truths, by showing humanity's strengths without arrogance, he was slowly earning respect. The council members began to ask questions about Earth, human customs, and human thinking. Elias answered with honesty, even when the questions were difficult or skeptical. After hours of discussion, the Queen spoke again. "You have shown much, human. But there is another matter. Understanding goes both ways. I will now show you how Varelians perceive the universe, their values, and their philosophy." Elias followed her through corridors lined with glowing panels and intricate carvings, each depicting aspects of Varelian culture. She explained their systems of governance, their focus on harmony and order, and their reverence for knowledge. Elias listened carefully, asking questions to understand the reasoning behind practices that might seem alien to him. "This is remarkable," he said. "Your people have built a civilization of precision, beauty, and longevity. It is impressive. And yet..." The Queen's golden eyes studied him. And yet, Elias continued, "sometimes it seems your culture values perfection over flexibility, control over spontaneity. Humans rely on adaptation as much as skill. Sometimes the unexpected is what allows us to succeed." The Queen considered this. "Perhaps that is why your kind survived despite our observations. You are unpredictable, resilient, and willing to take risks that others might avoid." "Yes," Elias said. "We do not always succeed, but we try. And that effort, combined with empathy and creativity, allows humans to face challenges that appear impossible." The Queen smiled faintly. "You speak wisely, human. Perhaps your presence here is teaching lessons that cannot be learned from tradition alone." As they walked through the city, Elias noticed the citizens watching them. Some paused in their tasks, curious. Others whispered softly, their words musical and unintelligible to him. Yet he felt that the humans' approach, honesty, courage, humor, was slowly resonating even with them. He and the Queen stopped at a plaza where citizens often gathered. Children played carefully around delicate structures, while adults moved with precision and grace. Elias knelt down, picking up a small crystal ball from the plaza's floor. He handed it to a child, showing how it reflected light in different ways depending on the angle. The child laughed, fascinated. The Queen observed silently. "Humans bring joy with simple actions," she said softly. "It is unlike anything my people often experience. You do not fear simplicity. You embrace it and find beauty in it." Elias nodded. "Sometimes the simplest things are the most profound. Humans have learned that even a small act of kindness or a moment of laughter can change hearts and minds." The Queen turned to him, her eyes reflecting the soft moonlight. "You are teaching me, human. Perhaps not intentionally, but you are." "I think we learn from each other," Elias said. "Humans gain wisdom from other cultures, and I hope your people can gain insights from ours. We may be different, but understanding each other makes us stronger." She smiled fully now, a rare and genuine expression. "Perhaps that is the lesson of your kind. Strength is not only in power, but in connection. Brilliance is not only in knowledge, but in empathy. Humans have much to teach and much to offer." Elias felt a quiet pride. This was not the pride of conquest, but of recognition, Humanity had a spark that could bridge worlds, connect hearts, and inspire change. And in this moment, even the alien queen of Viralia understood the value of that spark. The night deepened, and the twin moons cast long reflections across the crystal city. Elias and the queen stood together, silent for a moment, sharing a mutual understanding that words alone could not capture. "Tomorrow," she said finally, "you will continue your journey on Viralia. There are still tests, still lessons, still discoveries to make. But know this. Humans are not as simple as many believe. You are extraordinary in ways that cannot be measured by rules or power." Elias bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I am honored to share this experience and to learn from you and your people." She nodded. "And I am honored to have witnessed the strength and wisdom of humanity firsthand. Perhaps one day our two worlds will understand each other fully. Until then, you are a reminder of what is possible when honesty, courage, and empathy guide the way." As they returned to the palace, Elias reflected on the day's events. He had passed the Queen's tests, yes, but more importantly, he had shown the Council, the citizens, and the Queen herself that humanity's greatest strengths lay not in weapons or technology, but in the twin suns of Viralia were rising, casting a golden glow over the crystal towers. Captain Elias Thorne stood on the palace balcony, gazing out at the city he had come to admire. The alien queen approached quietly, her golden eyes reflecting both sunlight and something more, a mixture of curiosity, respect, and a touch of newfound understanding. "Human," she said softly, "you have spent many days here speaking, listening, and observing. You have passed my tests, shown our council the ways of your people, and you have taught me something I did not know I could learn." Elias turned to her, smiling gently. "I have learned much as well, Your Majesty. Humans are always learning, especially from others." She regarded him thoughtfully, then asked the question that had begun their journey, the question that had lingered in her mind from the very first day. "Tell me, human, am I beautiful?" Elias paused, considering his answer. He had already told her that beauty was more than appearances, more than strength or power. But now, after days of observing her, talking with her, and understanding her world, he knew the truth in full. "Your Majesty," he said carefully, "true beauty is not measured by form, color, or brilliance alone. It is measured by courage, wisdom, and the effect one has on others. You inspire loyalty, respect, and thought in your people. You have shown strength and humility, power and understanding. That is beauty, the kind that lasts, the kind that matters." The Queen's eyes softened and a faint smile appeared on her lips, delicate and rare. For centuries she had been admired for her rule, her power, her majesty. But no one had ever seen her as Elias did. No one had acknowledged her heart, her insight, her courage. "You speak wisely, human," she said quietly. "And yet, do you believe my people will see me in the same way? Will they understand this kind of beauty?" Elias shook his head gently. "Perhaps not immediately. Some may always value power over character. But by showing what is possible by example, change can begin. Even the smallest shift in perception can ripple outward, shaping thought and action. Humanity has learned that over millennia. I believe your people will see you differently in time." The Queen remained silent for a moment, reflecting. Then she turned to look at the city below, its spires and streets sparkling in the morning light. "You have given me something I did not know I lacked," she said. "Insight, perspective, the understanding that beauty is not only in how one is seen, but in how one moves through the world and touches the lives of others. That I will carry with me forever." Elias nodded, feeling the weight of his role. Humans often carried little in the universe, no armies of fleets, no centuries of knowledge. But they had something more valuable: insight, empathy, and the courage to act according to truth. It was what had allowed him to connect with the Queen and leave an impression that no power or force could achieve. "You have reminded me," he said softly, "that courage, honesty, and compassion are as powerful as any technology or strategy. That is something humans have learned over generations, and perhaps something Viralia can embrace too." The Queen studied him closely, her golden eyes gleaming. "Perhaps it already has. Perhaps the spark of your kind has shown us what we overlooked." Elias felt a warmth rise within him. He realized that this mission had been about more than diplomacy, exploration, or observation. It had been about connection, understanding, and the ability of humans to inspire even the most formidable beings in the galaxy. Human, the Queen said after a moment. There is one more thing I wish to show you before you leave. She led him through the palace, past corridors that glimmered with alien light, and into a chamber he had not seen before. At its center floated a large crystal orb, glowing with shifting colors that reflected the world outside. Around it were smaller orbs, each representing a citizen, a moment, or a memory. This, the Queen explained, is a record of Virelia's history, not merely as facts or dates, but as emotions, choices, and connections. It is how my people remember the past and learn for the future. Elias approached, fascinated. He could see the lives of the Virelians captured in light, the subtle interactions, the moments of courage and wisdom, the trials they had faced. It was beautiful, not because of color or light alone, but because it held meaning, story, and connection. You see, the Queen said, standing beside him, our culture has focused on perfection, rules, and logic. Yet here, in this chamber, there is emotion, learning, and growth. And now, human, you have contributed to it. You have changed what we understand about courage, honesty, and wisdom. Elias felt humbled. I did not come to change your people, Your Majesty. I came to learn, to understand, and to show what humans can offer. But if even a small spark of insight spreads, then it has been worth it. The Queen nodded, her gaze fixed on the crystal orb. A spark is all it takes to ignite a fire, human. You are that spark. Your presence here will ripple through Virelia for generations. You have shown that strength is not only in power but in heart. That insight and empathy are forces to be respected. Elias looked at her, realizing that this journey had been transformative not only for her but for him as well. Humanity's values, honesty, courage, empathy, and creativity were simple yet powerful. They could influence civilizations, inspire change, and bridge worlds. Your Majesty, he said softly, humans have learned that the universe is vast and often unpredictable, but we also know that connections, understanding, and shared experience are what make the journey meaningful. I hope Virelia will see that too. The Queen turned to him, her expression serene. It already has, human. Your actions, your words, your presence, they have reminded us of what we overlooked. We will remember you, and through you, we may see our own world in a new light. Elias smiled faintly, feeling a sense of completion. He had come to Virelia as an observer, a visitor, a diplomat, but he was leaving as a bridge, a reminder of what humans could offer to the galaxy. Not weapons, not fleets, not dominance, but the courage to see truth, the ability to connect, and the strength to act with honesty and heart. The Queen gestured toward the balcony, where the city stretched out before them, shining like a sea of diamonds. One final question, human, she said, her voice soft, almost playful. Will you carry the memory of Virelia with you? Will you remember the lessons, the people, and me? I will, Elias replied firmly. Virelia, its people, and your wisdom will remain with me always. And I will share what I have learned with others, so that the spark of understanding may continue to grow. The Queen regarded him, her expression filled with quiet pride. Then go, human. Leave our world and take with you the knowledge that your kind is remarkable. You have reminded us that courage, honesty, and insight are forces that can shape even the most powerful civilizations. And perhaps that is what true beauty means. Elias bowed deeply. Thank you, Your Majesty, for your trust, your wisdom, and your insight. It has been an honor to learn from you. She inclined her head, a gesture of acknowledgement and respect. And it has been an honor to see the human spirit in action. Go now, Captain Elias Thorne. Let the universe witness what humans can offer. He turned toward his ship, feeling the weight of the journey and the significance of what had transpired. The citizens of Virelia watched silently, their expressions curious, thoughtful, and changed. Even in their quiet observation, he could sense respect and admiration forming, a recognition of humanity's unique qualities that went beyond appearances or power. As he boarded his shuttle, the Queen's voice reached him one last time, soft but clear. Farewell, human. May your journey continue to inspire. And remember, true beauty is measured not by form, but by the courage, wisdom, and kindness one carries into the world. Elias smiled, a warmth in his chest. Humanity had once again proven that its greatest strength lay not in technology or dominance, but in heart, courage, and the ability to see truth. And now, in the vastness of space, he would carry that lesson forward. The shuttle lifted, moving smoothly away from Virelia. The city glimmered below, a monument to both alien achievement and the subtle influence of a human who dared to be honest, courageous, and true to himself. Elias looked back one last time, and in that moment, he felt a profound connection between two worlds, different, yet capable of understanding each other in ways that transcended language, appearance, or power. As he entered the upper atmosphere and then space beyond, the twin suns rising behind him, Elias knew that this journey was only the beginning. Humanity had left a mark, not of conquest but of inspiration. And somewhere on the crystal world of Virelia, the alien queen smiled, seeing herself and her people anew, shaped forever by a human who dared to laugh, speak, and understand. The stars stretched before him, vast and infinite, and Captain Elias Thorne felt the weight and wonder of it all. The universe was immense, full of challenges, mysteries, and life beyond imagining. But humans, he realized, were not merely travelers. They were connectors, learners, and sparks of change. And in that truth he felt both pride and hope. Virelia faded behind him, but its lessons, its people, and its queen would remain. And in the hearts and minds of those who witnessed humanity's courage, the universe had glimpsed something extraordinary, something that could illuminate even the darkest corners of space. Elias smiled, leaning back in his seat as the stars streaked past. Humanity was more than flesh and technology.